What's going on, everybody? It's Ron Brown, LMT, the People's Fitness Professional, alongside my co-host,
Mikey Fever. I know you're tired, bro. It's been a long one.
I even hit the wrong sound effects. Hold on.
Imagine.
Yo, a long week, a lot going on.
Most
this
definitely.
Podcast is picking up. A lot happening with this podcast. Work, life, and all of that, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming out, Jonathan Alvarez, J.O. That's the name.
J.O.
You met Mikey Fever. Can y'all explain? You were just explaining how you guys met.
Yeah, bro. Go ahead, John.
So it's great how people could connect, right? Just in like happenstance. So, where he was at getting his sandwiches in a community called Pelum, where I just moved into here in Westchester, and we were hosting an event. A couple weeks out from the day that I met him, I was handing out flyers, and just happened in the store. He took a flyer, whatever. I'm like, yo, let's link. I told him what I do. He's like, yo, I got a podcast. Yo, I'm from Brooklyn. Boom, we connect. And then again, by happenstance, the day of the event, he's at a red light while me and the team is outside the movie theater, just happen to wait for the guests to come in. And I'm like, yo, what up? When we connect, like, yo, oh yeah. Hi. I'm like, listen, come in, man. Free ticket for you, man. Come check it out.
Yeah.
And then it just was like, all right, whatever. He hopped out. Then he got to see like, what I was putting together and kind of like the story behind the movement. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of was dope where it lined up right before the interview. You know what I'm saying? Giving him real insight. Because I could tell you, I could show you, but coming into a space in real time is like, it's the best way to get to know a person.
Most definitely. Sure. Powerful, bro.
For sure. Right. So you just moved to Pelum. So are you from Brooklyn?
Nah, I'm from Yonkers originally. I'm a Yonkers native, right? So as you hear from my story, I kind of toured around. Yeah, YO in the building. And yeah, man. So I happened to just move from the Bronx. I was living in Throggs Neck with my partner, and we came close because my office for 914 United is in Yonkers. We do a lot of work throughout the Lower Hudson Valley in Westchester. So I came closer to home, and Pelham it's a great community, great village, a lot of affluency here. Plus, it's really like kind of that suburban vibe, low key, out the way. And so now we here. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Indeed. So, you're from Yonkers, but you moved to the Bronx and then went to Pelham.
Basically, so in real terms, it's me. I traveled. I did a lot of time. So coming home, I parked in Yonkers. I was living in Yonkers for a while, and then when I got my independence, I moved out on my own. I lived in Bronxville, borderline of Yonkers, another wealthy village. I got plugged in there. Then me and my partner got together in 2020, and then we moved to Throggs Neck, and I was there for 2 years, and then now we here in Pelham.
That's peace.
I love Throggs Neck, man. Throggs Neck is my spot. I like it over there.
Yeah, beautiful section. We had a great situation, private beach in the backyard, man. I love the East Tremont area. You have a little bit of everything over there, like clothes, the food, the spots. Good vibe.
Indeed. So you look about around 30.
I mean, that's a compliment, brother. I'm 36. I turned 37 this year.
Yeah. So you around that area. Yeah. All right. So you came up in so you kind of came up with us, but you didn't come up with us. We're a little bit older than you. So, but you know the Jada Kisses, you know the Little Names, you came up in that 50 Cent, all that era. So
for sure.
You still with us. All right, cool.
For sure. I was gonna get Rich or Die Trying Tatted. Kisses from My Town. Styles P was one of my favorite rappers. So was Lil Wayne. Like I was on that Carter 3 and all that. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Right.
None of that.
Yeah, that little mumble rap. Yeah.
So explain. So break your journey down. Like, so you're from YO. How is it out there in YO? I go to YO from time to time. And YO to me is like it's like Newark mixed with the Bronx.
I mean, I can't speak for the Newark part, but I definitely speak to the Bronx part. You know what I'm saying? But that's kind of a good distinction. So at one point, Yonkers and the Bronx was actually one borough, right? So they consider Yonkers the lost borough. Like in the 1800s, there was a division. when I get asked that question, it's kind of interesting because I always refer back to my times, and I think of Yonkers as like a mix of the Bronx, a little bit of like different parts of the city. I feel like we're a combination of everything in the city, right? But then you look at right now today what Yonkers look like, it look different. I wouldn't
Mm,
even know what to call Yonkers in terms of a borough. But at one time I felt like we kind of got like always associated with the Bronx, a little bit of Harlem, right?
yeah.
You know, it's kind of like you see, depending where you at in the town, kind of gave you like a reflection of a certain borough. You know what I mean? But it kind of like its own hybrid combination approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
But depending where you at, man, like you got certain parts of the town that's like seems suburban, but there's a whole underground economy, right? Like outside the trenches is right in front of you, but you wouldn't like kind of like see it. Then you
Yeah.
go to a certain part of town where it looked like you in BMO. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like meaning it's like the wire, right? Like it's obvious, like over here it's really trenchy. So kind of like depending where you at.
Right. Indeed. Indeed. So coming up in Yonkers, how is that exactly like? I mean, I always reference this every time I speak to people about their history. I always go into the crack era. Why? Because it was just it was it impacted my life. You know what I'm saying? And I saw a
Mhm.
lot in that era. So I like to kind of like hear where what other people saw and how their life turned out after seeing that or having that experience. Did you experience that era?
Yeah, nah, not the crack era. I mean, brothers in my like in my hood, they were selling crack, right? But like when I think of the crack era, I think of it like the epidemic where everybody was smoking it. It was a
Yeah,
different
Yeah.
experience, connection to the trenches, right?
right.
Now I feel like when I think about my life as a young teen, because mind you, I left young. I did time young. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think of the crack era as something that's like impactful, right? And then given my experiences with my father, my mother, like, they weren't really on that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I feel like I don't really have a connection to the crack era in that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably the
Speak on
aftermath. Probably the aftermath. You know what the destruction that it did. But
for
yeah,
sure,
yeah, most
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I grew up, I seen crackheads, like, don't get me wrong, like, we seen crackheads in the hood, people, selling crack. I never sold crack. I sold weed. Like, that was my thing coming up. I was a
Mhm.
weed dealer. I was moving weight, but like, not really for some reason. And so the one thing I could say then, if anything, was being a young dealer was like, you knew crack was a different level of crime, right? It came with a different level of attention because
Right.
the
Mm-hmm.
feds was on it, like them boys was on it. Like you could sell weed. I mean, then it was a big deal, but like crack and coke was a different hit. I kind of like knew how to navigate that. Plus, the weed was still moving, so I kind of was like, I could stay under the radar. I touched
Mhm.
this, not that. So I kind of knew the level of like in terms of crime difference.
Yeah, the degree of crime, definitely, most definitely. There's no
Yeah,
coming back from that crack. Like the imprisonment, the time, the Rockefeller drug laws, the war that it brings. Like it's not really at that level. But yeah, the crack, it comes with a lot of repercussions
yeah,
with that. Most
Right.
definitely.
Indeed.
yeah.
So now coming up in Yonkers, what was it like growing up then? So was it like a hip hop town? Was it like, like because I'm from Harlem. Harlem is about getting fly, girls, you know what I'm saying, hustling, things like that. You know what I mean? Fighting, of course, fighting, and then all we know how
Yeah,
things
yeah,
go further than that. You know what I mean? So that's what Harlem was about. You know what I'm saying? So in Brooklyn. Brooklyn keeps on taking it. They have their reputation. You know what I'm saying? So what is YO experience about?
I mean, definitely hip hop, right? Especially where we come from, right? We got Mary J, we got DMX, we got the Locks, right? So
Hmm.
like when I think about so my experience is a little different, right? So I grew up on the southwest of Yonkers was more predominantly Latino. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But we the different Latinos, like we not know, meet our Latinos, like we brothers along here, we be on timing.
Hmm.
Um, so we kind of, we was of the trend, right? Like when champion hoodies and ACGs was popping, like, we looked like state property when state property was popping. Like we are basically imitating what the world's imitating, right? When, Cameron, the whole Harlem wave was moving, we were wearing long tees too, right? Like,
Right,
Damn
right.
long teeth.
so yeah, remember that, right? Long jerseys, big tees, right? So I look at Yonkers like kind of again a reflection of the boroughs, right? Like we kind of imitating the trend of the times. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I think we know different. I just think what you could no, let me not say that. We know different in that we just of like the boroughs, but what you see is a little bit of Harlem, a little bit of Bronx. You might see a little bit of Queens vibes, depending on what groups you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of brothers from Yonkers hung out in Harlem or hung out in Queens, right? Or are originally from the Bronx, but now they moved up and grew up in Yonkers. So like you kind of get a little bit of everything, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So I mean, so you said the Southwest is more Latino, right? Latina, right?
At one point, yeah, kind
At
of
what,
changed because of gentrification.
right, indeed. So now, let's say in Harlem, we know Spanish Harlem. That's basically
East side.
that's basically Boricua. That we already know that, right? El Barrio and all that.
That's
So
about it.
now,
Or
so now in Yonkers, what is the groups? Is it Puerto Rican, Dominican, Mexican? I mean, like you say Latin, but how many different Latin groups are in that?
100%. Yeah. So right now, I think so. One thing about my hood, so we have more. It was Puerto Rican Dominicans primarily. So if you think about the Southwest at a certain time, like the '90s, early 2000s, two hoods come to mind: Lawrence Street, Elliott, like the Bloods and the Crips. I'm originally from Lawrence Street. And Lawrence and South Bro is my stomping grounds. I caught my case on that side of town. I was trapping on that side of town. My brothers, my old comrades, is still on the corners, right? They still from those communities, right? So always like kind of like Latino Puerto Ricans, but a little bit of blacks kind of mixed in that group, right? On both sides. Some may argue that Elliott had more Puerto Ricans than Dominicans versus Lawrence, right? But again, those two groups. Then we had on St. Andrews, you had the Vato Locos, right? That's the Mexican gang, right?
South
And
American.
then yeah, and then their viral like their adversary was Aztec Prides. So and this is interesting. Aztec Prize and Elliott kind of was like on the same side, while Vato Locals at one point and Lawrence Street was on the same side. It's not like that today though. Um, so yeah, you had the Mexican, South American groups, and you had the Puerto Ricans, Dominicans primarily, but no big groups of like Cubans, no big groups of Colombians, no big groups of like El Salvadorians, right? Like it was more Puerto Ricans and Dominicans kind of when we talk about the Southwest side.
So Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and Mexicans. So now, so that's what I'm used to. You know what I'm saying? Like how I came up, how I grew up. I was always around Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and then you had Mexicans as well. Also, I grew up in the city, so we had some Peruvians and Ecuadorians and stuff
Very
like that.
diverse.
Yeah. But mainly,
100%.
mainly Puerto Rican, Mexican, and Dominican. So you said that you had Bloods and Crips up there, and that was the Latin. That would be the Latin faction of Bloods and Crips.
No, the magnitude of the war between Elliot and Lawrence was like Bloods versus Crips at one point,
Oh,
right? The magnitude of when you say Lawrence or Elliot, if you know old timer between I'll say 30s and up, and you like, yo, what's up with this Lawrence or Elliot war? They were, like it was bloody war. It was serious, right? So that was seeing the magnitude of that. Now, as I got to see both sides, and I could speak more from my side, started to adopt more of the blood culture. You know what I'm saying? To where right now in my hood, the young boys is Mac ballers, primarily Mac ballers. But that's the younger generation. They all primarily black, African American. Now, some of the brothers my age, even like a year or two older than me, some of my bros, they were blood as well. And I remember a time where I was told some of the brothers was like converting over in my hood to being blood. But I don't know how deep they was in that, because today they not repping that. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
blood did
that was all
influence.
Mac Ballers over there. So that's all Mac Ballers in Lawrence Street. You saying?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Okay.
word.
So
Okay.
that's crazy. As he said, that gang epidemic basically spread throughout the whole like state, basically.
100%. It looked crazy. Like the work I do, I'm involved in gang intervention work. So like it's hard to keep up with, right? So we know evolution is constant. It's gonna happen. But
Exactly.
what it looks like could be mind blowing, right? You have hybrids, right? You have Crips hanging out and merging with Bloods versus Crips and Bloods now. So it's not even what it was the Kings,
Yeah.
the Bloods, the Crips. Now things are merging. So yeah, times is weird, man.
Yeah.
Can't hold it.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. So now things are merging, and I think nowadays, I'm not really in tune with what's going on. I'm like still in the 90s, basically early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? Like I know the woo and the cho and all of that. I know.
All
So
that
is that popping up here?
Nah, that was more a Brooklyn
That's
thing.
more Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was more a Brooklyn thing.
unfortunately, and I feel for the young, and this is why like I respect what the brother's doing up there. You understand? He's bringing guidance to them, and when we go further into the interview, you hear a lot more. And I wish you guys could have seen the short film that was played. Like it was a lot of good testimonies, man.
Yeah, I mean,
Transformative.
you could direct the audience to our YouTube channel. We got the videos on the YouTube for 914 United. You could Google 914 United, and the two short films will come up.
914 United. I want to get to 914 United, but before we do, I want to kind of like, break your history down a little bit. Just give us a little bit and a little bit of Yonkers. So you grew up in Yonkers. You was trapping weed and all that, and then you got knocked, right? And then you did how long?
I knocked for man one, not for weed really. I did almost 13 years,
Okay.
17 to 30.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was trapping from like 12, 13, right? Got kicked out of school. 15, 17, I ended up in prison.
Mhm.
Wow.
But
Okay. And then when you came out, well, and you're at your stay in prison, you went up north. Where
yeah, state
where
time.
up where up north?
Did like 6 facilities. I traveled a little bit. I was in Sing Sing, I was in Comstock, I was in Coxsackie, I was in Easton, I was in Woodburn. You know what I'm saying? I went to the
Mm,
box one time. So like I definitely had my travels.
Yeah.
indeed. So your experience up there, of course, up there is still blooded out, right?
You mean like the gang
Yeah,
up there?
yeah.
It's a different world up there, right? It's not
Mhm.
blooded out, right? I mean, the Bloods are overwhelming, but
Yeah.
you got so like boroughs hold a lot of weight too. You know what I'm saying? Like the Brooklyn court was strong. Yonkers and Sing Sing 914 United had, I mean, not, I said 914 United.
Mhm.
914 had a court.
Mhm.
Albany strong, right? Rochester strong. Then you got the Rat Hunters, the Kings, they got their own situation. Then you got the Jamaicans and the Caribbean brothers over there. Like, so it's like a whole segregation. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so brothers might be from the Bronx, but they blood, so they with the Bloods. Brothers might be, you know what I'm saying, from Manhattan, but they with the Kings. Brothers might be from the Bronx, but they Dominican, so they with the Dominicans. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So it's like very segregated, like, and then you got your neutrals that kind of navigate like myself. I was neutral. You know what I mean? I never became a formal gang member. Like the only gang I banged was my hood, but that was like a brotherhood. That was a
Yeah.
local street thing, right? And then coming up north, kind of early on, like due to my situation, due to being told on, like we get into all that and how I kind of ended up in
Mm,
prison and
Wow.
traveling for almost 13 years for stepping up for somebody else's situation and then it going left. And then I ended
mm.
up with all the time.
Ooh,
Mm.
okay. So since we go in there, I didn't know if you were comfortable with talking about all that. Okay.
Let's get it.
Okay, cool. So what happened?
Yeah, nah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Ron is
So
like, Ron is like, what?
nah. This was I got articles, bro. I got articles, podcasts on my story, bro. I spoke on Earn Your Leisure. Like I've done a lot of storytelling. I own it, right?
Mhm.
So I'm 17 at the time. I was trapping. I was really getting some money, and I was like the leader of my little crew, basically. So when a lot of things happened, I was the first call. Long story short, brother who ended up telling on me, had so it's crazy. I kind of learned the core of what sparked the incident years
Mm,
later, like through the grapevine of like getting the piece together. But I get a call that some brothers came through my certain that came through my hood and they jumped 3 of my bros on some off guard, right? Like physical combat. So we
Yeah.
get the call, we go handle it. And mind you, like we could have had it, when it got the grip and handled it one way. But at the time, like my team was wild. Like we fighting all the time, stabbing, shooting, like things is normal, right?
Mm.
Even though for me, and I always said this, like every time I went to go put in work, I never liked it. It wasn't my thing, but I was always on the front line.
Of
I'm
course.
loyal. I'm also got a lot of heart. I was always wise for my age. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm.
we could talk it out. We talk it out. We got to knuckle it out, whatever the case is, right? But in this situation, it was like, we don't need that. The grip. let's go just go take care of this. I knew one of the brothers that was involved. I called the brother. I'm like, yo, what's the word on this? Like, I'm hearing that you just came through. Y'all violated. We gotta come see y'all now. So we framed the situation like, yo, tell son come downstairs. He's gonna shoot the fade with the bro. And we already was armored up. We get over there and like just what it is. I tell people off the strength like of the truth, right? Like I didn't go to this scene with the intent of murder. You know what I'm saying? I went there to put in some work. This was normal. So interestingly, like there's a part of my story where so my case was he died by the bat. I beat him down. You know what I'm saying? But that was his bat. So interestingly, on my way over there, I picked up. This is crazy. Like I always think about that. I picked up a battle for a random front yard. And somebody that was with me, like, yo, bro, you don't need that. We never use that, right? Like, yeah, you right. I'm hot. I'm walking with this big old bat. I toss it. When I get there, you know, God rest his soul, because I also got my remorse for the victim. He came with that. He's the older brother of the brother that transgressed on my brother. You know what I'm saying? And then we get to the situation and I kind of saw red, you know what I'm saying? So I charged the situation, kind of rumbles kind of happening. I beeline to the brother and, you know, he made a decision, got disarmed eventually. And I made a series of decisions that, you know what I'm saying, took his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was it.
It's crazy how you said that. Like, you know, the dialogue, you know, it could have went to the point of having a dialogue, but they already inflicted pain on your brother. 100%. So I understand. So it was just being young, charged up. You just, you know, just a natural reaction. Instead of responding, you just reacted.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So that's understandable right there.
Right.
Damn.
So he passed on. Like, so what was the scenery like after that? Like, so after you did what you did, right? You know, you defended yourself because he attacked you, right? So
you know, I try to use a self-defense, but the consequence, the wounds and everything, it was self-defense is like you hit the person, he died one time, right? But this was like kind of an overkill in essence. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't the defense went out the window once I was already the aggressor. You know what I'm saying? But yes, it was more. I mean, it depends how you frame it, right? Because I'm charging him and he's on timing too, and then he's backing me down. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like he charged me, hit me. I'm charging him, he hit me, and it's like, and I just kind of woke and kind of turned to something else.
Yeah. Well, it's like this, right? Like if you hold on, what did you did what you had to do? That's what I was saying.
Yeah, it happens. Combat.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Like it's either your life or his. You know what I'm saying? So
facts.
And people gotta understand whenever men engage in combat, you know what I'm saying. From how I was raised, is that either somebody got to go to the hospital, or somebody got to die. So this is why men don't like engaging in combat. If we could have dialogue first, be respectable towards one another as adults, that's cool. But once it leads to arms, it never ends pretty because it's quick to escalate because it's passion involved. You know what I'm saying? Now I'm angry, you're angry, and we just, you know.
Yeah,
has prevailed, man.
Indeed. So now after that happened, you get arrested. Where's the first place you go?
First I go to bookings, obviously, then I go to county, right? And once they up my charge to murder, like now I'm sitting in the county fighting the whole situation. So I sat in county for like a little less than a year before I copped out to manslaughter. And I was there, and then from there I traveled to the state.
Okay. Now, what had you moving different spots?
So when you first land in when it's 07, I'm landing in Sing Sing. You given a certain status, you either transit or you GP, general population. At the time, transit means you could stay in Sing Sing from 1 day to a year. Some people were able to convert their status over to GP so they can stay close, because Sing Sing is like 15, 20 minutes from the town. So people trying to stay closer to home. I was transit for 7 months, basically. Got shipped to Comstock. Right now I'm in Comstock. It's a whole nother world. It's Gladiator School. Everybody know about Comstock. It's a whole nother world up there. I'm navigating, getting a lot of experiences though. You know what I'm saying? Connecting with some brothers. And then I got an educational transfer. So when you staying out the way, you trying to get closer back to home, you just don't catch a ticket for X amount of time, and then you could put in for an educational transfer. And that's like, I want to further my education. So they'll send you back to a school where they got education. So Sing Sing was the school I was trying to get back to. Obviously, I made that my first option, and I
Smart.
got plugged into Sing Sing. So I went back to Sing Sing. I was in Sing Sing for like 3 years. I was doing good. Had a couple situations going on. I was married. I was trying to get into college. And
Nice.
I got into my first kind of real situation with an older brother. Um, and I went to the box for 4 months.
Oh
Another
man.
brother told on me, right? So I go to the box 4 months, but I only did like 80, like 70 some days out of that. I got
Mm.
shipped to Kasaki. From the box, I went to long-term keep lot. So now I'm in Kasaki.
Mm.
Kasaki is a whole nother world of oppression. It's a mental war. I
Sure.
was there for like about 2 years, and then some brothers trying to really get out of there. They take all kind of means, attempt new charges, or all kind of things to get up out of there. Me, I'm
Mm.
like, I understand the system is like you digging yourself a deeper hole. So I stood out the way, I navigated. I ain't getting to nothing. I was real chill and militant, like in my bed. I wasn't I wasn't doing nothing too crazy. And
Mm.
I put in for education transfer to get out of Kasaki, and that
Mm.
that landed me in Eastern. So now I'm in Eastern, which at the time, Eastern was viewed as like an honor jail. Like everybody trying to go over there. The food different, trailers are more frequent, closer to home. You could wear certain things, the freedoms, the luxuries, the workout. That just one of the best gyms in the state. So it was one of those like appealing jails. Like you ain't worried about violence and a lot going on with police. You could navigate it real easy. And then from Eastern, I got shipped to Woodburn because my classification dropped. And then
Mm.
from Woodburn, I went back to Eastern because I had got accepted into the bachelor's program. So
Salute.
that's part of my journey. Yeah, word that I got into a college program. Um, yeah, called Ball Prison Initiative from Ball College. Once I got my associates, boom, went up to the BA program, and then they only at the time had the bachelor's program at Eastern. So I got shipped back to Eastern. So basically, the transfer is due to some. It was only one real incident that like I got myself involved in. One other scenario was I had no choice because of my status, and then everything else was me navigating the system, intentionally trying to get to a certain jail.
I
I
got you. I have
came
a
in from
question.
Eastern.
I have a question, brother. What inspired you to get back into the education? And two, did you find, like, most brothers go to prison, they find religion or anything like that? What was the inspiration to make you want to further your education?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think I was always a curious learner. I think I always wanted to learn, right? Like even as a young kid, I think I always was relatively smart, but I never tapped into that. And I think when you
Mm,
got a lot of time on your hands, right? Like I think naturally you're gonna gravitate to certain things, right? Some people gravitate to writing poetry, some start doing art.
hmm
I went to reading. And the more I started to read, I started to learn. The more I learned, the more I fell in love with learning.
Yeah.
So then I kind of was like just fond of the idea of learning and spending my time
Mm,
building my mind basically. And then when I kind of foresaw like, yo, in order for me to come home and really level up, I gotta level myself up. I gotta invest into myself. So,
facts.
whether it's me believing into the dominant, ideas around college, I saw college as a way out.
Mm,
I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get my GED. Because I went in with no education. Got
yeah.
my GED. Now I'm motivated. Like once you achieve that first goal, you're like, wait, I could up it.
You could do
And
more. Yeah.
then part of the inspiration that spoke to my internal interest was like brothers that I have a lot of respect for that were in college. And these are gangsters. You know what I'm saying? That's walking the yard like lions and well respected, but they polishing themselves up. So now they giving me what it looked like to not take this route. This is actually where's it at?
Hmm
And now I'm like, you know what? Looking at that and then me wanting to learn, I saw opportunity and I just jumped on it. You know what I'm saying? Then I got into a really great college program, and then that really opened up my mind. Religion, the only religion, like I went to the mosque and I kind of like was fond of Islam,
Yeah.
and I wasn't converting, it wasn't my thing. Same thing with Christianity, studied Christianity and Catholicism wasn't my thing. Where I really got connected to was Buddhism. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
the Zen.
And yeah, it was more of an individualized kind of like religion where it was like you versus you, you know what I mean?
Hmm
And I felt like I ain't really have to respond to no master. I felt like my thing against religion is the way the structure is set up, where it's like there's this higher
Talk about it.
humanized,
Talk about it.
westernized, right? Kind of
Mm-hmm.
idea of what is controlling man. And I kind of got into my whole energy, believing in the universe, and Buddhism kind of just in its own way fit into that. So I kind of started practicing meditation. I was like, I kind of jacked it, started reading on it. And I kind of got, but I never really became like a full Buddhist, right? Like I
Yeah.
just take some of the principles, right? So we're
Yeah. You didn't walk around with the incense sticks and just
yeah, no, I wasn't on
yeah.
that.
Nah, I respect. That's beautiful, man. That's very, because I see like a lot of brothers that go through that situation of being incarcerated. They don't take that time to use it as transformative, and you are the epitome of that. Like you represent that. Like watching you when you was conducting that show, speak so poised. Like I'm like you couldn't tell this dude has been incarcerated unless he tells you. You know what I'm saying, Ryan? Some brothers walk around, they be like, yo, I've been. He doesn't display those characteristics,
I'm
man.
gonna tell you what he does have though. He has that heavy New York accent though.
Straight up, he does.
Heavy New York accent, yo. You know he's from New York.
Yeah.
Really, I never like really
I can hear it. I can hear it. That's why I was thinking. I was thinking maybe from Brooklyn, but then then 914 United. I was like, okay, I put it together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you
that's
explain
interesting.
and everything. Yeah, me too. I never realized that. I never realized I had a New York accent until I moved up here, and I was around people, and they was like, "That's how you say that? That's not how you say it. You say it this way." I'm like, "Oh, I'm just used to saying it like this." You know what I'm saying?
I work out there, and I see the difference, man. With some characteristics with some individuals, like I'll be like, yeah, I don't really fit in.
Right? Yeah.
Especially in that area where I met the brother at, you could tell that area is just so calm. So working up there is different. When I'm up there, I'm like, yeah, they probably see me as aggressive, and I'm not even aggressive. I'm very soft spoken, but it's just to them, they's like, yeah, you could tell he's from the city.
That is interesting. Word.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So now after going through what you went through, then you went through college. So you got your GED, you got your associates, and you got your bachelor's.
Yeah, I got
Okay,
my bachelor's in social studies.
and
That's peace right there.
social studies. That's peace. Black on black peace, man. Islam, salam, shalom, hotep, ashe, bless up,
All that good
peace.
stuff.
All that.
Bendy
So,
Sean.
what did they say in the Buddhist community?
I wouldn't know.
That was the Santeria Ifa stuff. They most they like Bendy Sean.
Yeah.
So after doing all that, right? Then you get home. What's the first thing you did when you got home?
Man, I came home to a lot of love. My bros, family, my mom's, and it's crazy. Like I laugh about it, but I wanted steak and eggs. I wanted steak and eggs, and my bros ready to take me to like 5 stars. I'm like, man, we go to Yonkers Diner. So we went to
Take
Yonkers
some
Diner. They
home.
like, yo, you really want to eat this? Like, I'm like, yo, this is 5 star for me right now. Like, so I kind of we went to the diner.
Indeed.
You mean like my first thing I did like that, or
yeah,
like
that too,
process?
that too.
Yeah, that counts.
Yeah, that all counts. Yeah, for
Nah,
sure.
so that's the first thing I made did. But not in terms of coming home and transitioning. I think like so I came home with a plan, right? And it's kind of interesting what I'm doing now was not the plan what I was wanting to do then. So speaking to my undergrad, I studied fashion trends and urban poverty. So I got to really understand why like black and brown communities dress the way we dress conspicuously, high-end designers. And I spent 2 years of independent research for my senior thesis. And I traced what I argued was the origin of what we was known as ghetto fashion to the Jim Crow South, early first Great Migration period, early 1900s. And a
Oh,
lot of
we
that was
gotta bring you back on
Yeah,
again.
he asked, bro.
Yeah.
Told you, man. Mine tech. I had when I connect we talk. I'm like, nah. I gotta talk to this dude, bro.
Yeah, now I appreciate that. So long story short, man, like I really delved into fashion differently. And y'all from Brooklyn, right?
Now he from Brooklyn, I'm from Harlem.
Okay, so you definitely know about the low lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Of course.
So I was there with the founders, but with two of the founders, Dark Low and Ralph Low. Ralph Low's my big bro. He one of the founders of the Low Lives. He was in Easton with me. So I actually, one of my brothers, like, yo, you should look at the Low Lives as a movement and their influence on fashion. So my research got really rich. Not only did I get to understand the history of fashion as it relates to different forms of institutional racism, because I kind of delved into how certain trends that we look at, looking at the Zoo Suits, the 80s during mass incarceration. I use Al Poe as an example. A lot of us were reacting to different forms of exclusion and look in a certain way to tap into a certain space, right? Became why we start to really kind of adopt and really have so much love for materialism. And it's because it's a coping mechanism, right? When you're dealing with systemic inequity for so many years, we feel good when we dress a certain way, but we could be poor as hell, right?
Yeah.
There's a psychology behind it, right? And I got into the history to help us understand why certain people dress the way they dress. And I looked at the low lives as an example, how big fashion companies, fashion empires start to basically capitalize on they basically capitalize on what black and brown communities use as a way to kind of counter express their resistance against institutional racism. But this ain't always a conscious effort. Sometimes it's a subconscious effort, right? So we look at like even the way FUBU was kind of merged, what it stood for. It was exclusive. It was countering white culture,
Yeah.
right? So, but then you got companies like Ralph Lauren that would capitalize on that trend and make it their own. And that's exactly what happened with the low life. So there was like this unspoken dialogue between both the fashion empire and fashion groups. So I kind of got real deep into this whole situation. So it inspired for me to really, I want to be a fashion curator when I came home. I was like, I'm gonna be a curator. I want to translate my senior thesis. The name of the thesis was called A Dialectic Between Ghetto Fashion and Structural Violence, an ongoing struggle for power and capital. So it's kind of looking at this kind of historical thing, and fashion is how it emerged in a lot of times and periods in American history. So coming home in 2018, my first move was like, yo, apply to Parsons. Because Parsons, the new school, was the Harvard of fashion. And I'm like, I'm gonna go for the gusto. So I came home, I caught a little odd job, quit that the first day. I was like, nah, that's not me. And then I started getting connected to opportunities, but none of it was in fashion. And that was my journey coming home. And I think, Mike, you seen the video, like basically me in school, I'm working here, trying to get into the fashion industry, but it was like really hard. I'm over here serving tables. You know what I'm saying? And mind you, the whole time I got brothers in the streets, 6-figure cars and jewelry. Like, so the influences is ever present. I'm waking up every day saying no to the wrong things and yes to the right things, while still trying to say I'm gonna get into the school. I got awarded nearly a full scholarship into Parsons.
Salute. Give him a gunshot, man. Give him.
Word.
We give him applause, brother.
We give him applause. Yeah. My bad. You know, I'm just.
The Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, man. Brooklyn. Give
Oh,
him
come
a
on.
gunshot. Brooklyn. Stop, man.
So, but yeah, that was the early journey, man. Like, and then that kind of ultimately, evolved into the movement I built now with my team. You know what I'm saying? But my entry into the world was, man, have a good time, but get into this lane, turn your thesis into something. But it's funny, like what I've done for fashion, just FYI before we move on, I've also studied prison fashion. So when I was an undergrad, this is interesting. So fashion became a thing of mine, and that's what I've learned in my post-release journey with fashion. Fashion is not something I want to get rich off of or become start a career. It was more of a creative passion and more about learning it and then maybe creating shows around it, right? Like not necessarily trying to launch a career in it. So for my freshman year in college, one of the first classes you have to take is called cultural anthropology. The final project is you doing your own ethnographic research. Ethnographic research, for many who don't know, is basically you going into a certain culture, understanding the culture, observing the culture, interviewing people in the culture. Because all of us were in prison and college, the only culture we could really analyze is prison culture.
Yeah.
So some people were analyzing like the meaning of the visiting room, the phones, the gym. There's a whole culture in all those spaces, the do's and don'ts, the unspoken rules. Like it's really deep when you analyze different space and what birthdays mean in prison. But nobody studied fashion. So I was like, yo, I want to study. I'm a fashionista. I like to dress when I was in the town, I like to dress, right? In prison, I was fly. Like I used to always, but there's a meaning in that, right? Like, so I kind of delved into a whole 20-page project on this. You know what I'm saying? So that was my earlier interest in fashion. Then when I graduated my BA, fashion was the topic I picked up on. And interestingly, it wasn't something that I thought of. It was inspired by the Trayvon Martin and the hoodie incident. That's what inspired my whole, let me look at what the hoodie meant. And then the two-piece suit, and then it just evolved with the low lives, and it kind of just took a life of its own.
That's deep. The philosophy behind that. It's very deep. It sound like that thesis right there. It sound like it's very similar to the buying of a Negro, the selling of a Negro. Like how they study
yeah.
psychology on how to, like as you say, the market of black and brown people. Like we're basically buying back our self-esteem, like that inclusion. Like I'm in the upper world, even down to what we say to each other. You ain't up on this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
We
it's
up
like,
on this. Yeah, no, interesting how language plays a crucial part in that.
definitely.
Indeed. So now, how did you connect with the low lives? What you said, that was your comrade or somebody you met in prison?
Yeah. So one of the brothers, shout out to Reggie right now. He's actually he's from the Bronx originally. I think he's going to Columbia now, the brother Reggie. He's like, yo, he was really interested in my thesis and was like, yo, you should holla at like Low, like Ralph Low, like, they got the whole Low lives, like, and I ain't gonna lie, I never heard of the Low lives. Me, like, really? So he like, yo, I want to plug you in. So he introduced me to bro, and I sat down with bro telling me his story. They got literature, they got a podcast, they had a bunch of things that they were doing. I'm like, yo, this is a dope. And brother's a solid stand-up dude. So I really was already kind of admiring bro. And we just started building. And it made sense. I was like, damn, this would be a dope topic because I was gonna look at Ralph Lauren. I already was gonna analyze because the thing about, well, at least then, maybe I don't know now, things changed, but Ralph Lauren is one of the biggest brands people wear in prison. To get fly, to have a Ralph Lauren or Nautical on was like you were him. You know what I'm saying? Like it fit the trend of the time. It showed you was like in tune. So Ralph Lauren for me was always a thing. And finding out Ralph Lowe, one of the founders, he's one of 5 founders of how many founders they was of the Low Lives. I'm like, this is a rich, like this is access to like,
culture.
real, qualitative data. So we kind of got into that.
Okay. So Ralph Lowe, and so
And shout out to Ralph Lowe too. That's the bro.
Shout out to Ralph Lowe. So now after that journey, going through that, now how did we get to 914 United?
The magic question, huh?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so definitely got to watch those videos, man, because it kind of tells you that story visually, right? So I'm now in Parsons, 2019. I've been home like already at the time 10 months. I'm on parole still. I'm trying to catch up with life. School was real, right? I wasn't financially independent. Took full time. I went in full time, taking 4 classes, 4 different days, a lot of work. And I'm in a toxic environment at the same time, right? So like I'm dealing with a lot of pressures, traumas being triggered. I'm not realizing this is trauma. I'm just, going through the motions.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let's talk about it. Yo, hold on.
Let's talk about it.
So because I go through stuff myself. So I try to like hear what other people, you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
Like I'm hearing you. I'm like, damn, hold on.
It triggers
like what happened to me at some certain points. So you didn't realize you were in a toxic environment where there was a lot of triggering going on there. So can you, you don't have to go in super detail, but if you could kind of like break that down a little bit so I could better understand.
Yeah, I mean, so the toxic triggers is that like literally what was where I lived at, like everything, a lot of negative things was happening, right?
Yeah.
Some of it dealt with war with my loved ones, right? So that kind of was tempting for me to get involved.
Talk about it.
Right. So you kind of like know, like I can't risk my freedom, but all my brothers is in the field. This is the space.
Yeah.
So that's a little challenging, man. Again, saying no to the wrong things, yes to the right things. I kind of started framing my story as this is what the battle is when you really trying to move on that right time. But the trauma for me was more because I didn't so much time and I was abandoned by family for so many years. So living with family and then kind of feeling like not connected and being an outsider with family, but you with family. Get it?
Right.
So there's a whole process
I
of
know that feeling.
I never understood it then, you know what I'm saying? So I'm still processing that. I'm reconnecting with my moms. Like there's a lot that I was dealing with that I never really wanted to face. You know what I'm saying? That's just like this emotional struggles. Then the environmental influences that I mentioned, the triggers, right? Whether it's like family at war or, things happening that you're not approving of. because you coming home with this jail mindset
Yeah.
too. That's like very structured, and I'm also real educated too, and nobody in my family got education, so I see the world differently. You know what I'm saying? What they
Mm-hmm.
see black, I see white, so we clashing.
Mm-hmm.
That's all underlying a lot of the emotional turmoil. But I think what really brought it to an end for me was like I got into this major school. I was probably the first formerly incarcerated people to get a near full scholarship with this top fashion school. So now I feel responsible for those coming behind me,
Salute.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in this space, bougie school, beautiful experience, but now I'm like, yo, I really can't manage. I'm behind in school because I'm working 2 jobs. Then I gotta let both my jobs go to keep up with school. And there was a moment where I was still broke. I was broke, talking about no money to my name, and I was still behind in school. I couldn't find my way out, and I started to flirt with getting back into the streets. I literally was on calls, and I'm a call away from anything I wanted. And I was starting to really flirt with those calls and having those conversations, man. But I ain't gonna lie, I never jumped in. Thank God. So what led to the movement was that moment in my life was so dark that I had my first mental health breakdown where we wake up every day and we gonna continue pushing. Like we gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
Even if emotionally you feel like you failed yourself, because that's what I was carrying for like a month. So now we in December 2019. I feel like I failed. I jumped into school. I gotta fold my I know I gotta fold my cards, but do I gotta fold my cards? Am I just not
Yeah.
strong enough? Now I'm questioning myself. So I'm going through this self-doubt, this failure. And I never felt lost, like I was lost.
Mm-hmm.
And I come off the platform one day on my way to school, you know what I'm saying, to start crying. I just break down on the platform, like, and it was a moment of me like, yo, you can't do this to yourself no more. This is not for you. Like the universe is telling you this is not for you. And I had counsel prior to that time, but really that day, I got to reach out to my brothers, my comrades, some of them who did 20 plus years, that been home 4 or 5 years. Some of my brothers who helped me when I was in prison, some helped me when I came home, and
Mm-hmm.
they all came to my aid. I opened up a group chat like, yo, I'm going through it. Mind you, none of them know this though, because I'm carrying my cross, but nobody knows it's heavy. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And I'm not showing it, and I'm in a massive grad, and I did 13. So they got this like this vision of me that I'm like, nah, you get it. I really don't got it together, man. I need help. So they all came to my aid, like, yo, bro, we got you, whatever you need. And that right there made the difference in the world. I called a colleague of mine that same day. She was in the class. She called me to the lobby, and she's like, yo, you should go to counseling. Like, you know what I mean? You should like speak to them about your situation, because you really are in a bind. Like, you don't got no money. You on parole. You transitioning. You behind in school. I lost motivation to try to keep up with schoolwork. And then that's the first conversation I had with the counselor, who he taught me it was okay to say yes to no to education, yes to mental health. And he
Mm-hmm.
like, make your decision. And it felt good. I walked out of it like, yo, you right. Why am I being hard on myself? I turned it off. I withdrew from the program, and I felt like it was a relief. Coming out of that, you know, even though I said what I said about religion, I do believe in a God, right? So I don't know if it was God's graces or just a natural leading in me. But I was like, I want to get involved in organizing, and I want to create spaces for brothers like myself, right? But for people who didn't have that group chat to reach out to, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So we organized, I went to my brother who became the co-founder of the movement, like, yo, I want to organize a support group, and we called it the You're Not Alone Brotherhood. And it was a first time we attempted to organize, to create safe spaces for brothers to come to that space and build, right? You ain't got to carry that cross by yourself. And I wanted to help brothers coming home, like, yo, this is a space for y'all. So we started doing that. And then like a natural born entrepreneur. Like, I'm like, I got to figure this out. So I reached out to who was the principal when I was 15 that expelled me. He was a superintendent when I came home. Got his information, shot him an email, had a meeting with him, and boom, he sent me to my first speaking engagement was at the same school he expelled me from. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how to tell my story. So I already organized this male support group. I'm like, I want to get involved in mentoring. They had the NBK, my brother's keeper. Um, the one of the brothers who was on the panel was from my brother's keeper. So it's an Obama Foundation born organization that actually resulted as a result of Trayvon Martin's death, helping young men of color prosper. And I knew they was big. I'm like, I want to get involved with them. And then I did my first speaking engagement. I didn't know how to tell my story. And I remember walking in there, I'm all polished up. I got the speech I'm trying to write off of. and I kind of got lost in the speech. And I'm like, man, listen, it's my story.
Yeah,
And I
straight
just
from the
started
heart.
talk. I started talking from the heart. In
Yeah.
that moment, the reaction I got, the feedback was like, yo, we are missing leaders like you who did that time, that came out with your story to come back talk to these kids. And that was the beginning journey of 914 United right before the pandemic hit. And it goes on
Beautiful.
and on and on, but I don't want to.
Yeah. Yo, I just want to say, man, everything that he said is so pivotal, it's so important. Is that as men, as they put us, men is color, we never have a safe space to express what we feeling because we were always taught to be tough, strong, perseverant, resilient, and not knowing inside is eating us up. Like, I had to learn that, like, to start going to therapy in my like mid-30s, and just to have somebody to talk to, because people around me, we have a stigma about mental health. We just write it off as crazy, not understanding I got some triggers that I'm dealing with. Personal like self-doubt or feeling inadequate at times, or things that I have experienced, witness that's eating me up. I can't express it because if I do, you're gonna view me as weak. So when I lash out in the form of violence, and it's respected. You get what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah, for
weird
sure.
like that. Nah, man, it's beautiful
You
what
ain't
you
lying
said,
about
bro.
that.
Mental health is
No, thank you.
important.
For sure. I'm interested in 914 United. I want to kind of tap in, see what's really going on
Nah, you should, bro.
with that right there. I'm gonna watch the video and everything like that. As you said, Mike, men, excuse me, we don't have like a safe place to kind of like talk about things. You had the chat at the time when you really needed it. And sometimes I go through things, man. I don't have a chat. I just
Yeah, me, brother. I tell you to call me, but Ron be on some.
yeah.
Sure, I'm strong, Mike.
But that be it though, right? Like,
Yeah.
and we trying to destigmatize that,
Mhm.
right? Or no, not, I'm sorry, demystify that, right? Like that I'm strong mentality a lot of us come home with, or we just adopt due to our own experiences.
Mhm.
And that also contributes to the pain. Yo,
Mm.
one thing I know is that we can't do life alone, no matter what we think,
That's a
who we
fact.
believe in. You gotta lean on, you gotta lean on either faith or your counsel. We can't do this alone. None of us lived it before. We
Mhm.
living this for the first time. So like that's why my movement became what it became. And if you see behind the logo, it says "You're not alone." That became the creed because that was
Mhm.
the first message that I thought of when I thought about that space. So now, when we deal with young brothers coming out of corrections, coming out of gangs life, coming out of streets, people just be creating a space where we like, yo, you're not alone on your journey. That's the core of our work, and what your journey look like. We here to get you there, right? And we do a lot of curriculum based work, and we got a whole framework that we do around the credible messenger model and stuff. But
Mhm.
the core of it is that we are people building a tribe, opening doors for others to join the tribe. You know what I'm saying? And because we all human, bro. We're gonna go through what we go through, man. Like that's why I shout out my partner I'm with now, my girl. Like I couldn't have gotten this far if I didn't have a queen that was supporting me. You know what I'm saying?
Salute, man.
So
There
Respect,
you go.
respect to her.
There you go.
yeah,
Backbone.
it all goes full circle.
Eh,
So
eh, Let's make that clear
yeah,
too, man. Shout out to the women. There's times, men, we make these mistakes. Sometimes coming up, we may take them for granted. But when you have a rider that's with you, man, that's it, bro. That's it.
yeah,
That's it.
100%.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
For real.
Indeed. Yo, thank you, brother, for coming up. Jo, really appreciate you. We got to bring you on again. We have a
Yes.
lot more to talk about. We can't we,
Facts.
we can't fit it all in the hour because you got a lot going on, you know what I'm saying? And you just now you got my mind blown. Now you got
Yeah.
me thinking, why you do that, bro? Like
Yeah. Nah, he has that effect. And people go check out the website. It's 914 United. You watch
.org.
the .org. You watch the films. You'll see the testimonies. I witnessed it myself at the speaking engagement that he had. The amount of like people that had testimonies, the affluent people that came out to support him. He had business owners, politicians within that area that came to see him.
mm,
And they are very they magnetized and they love his work because just like every other inner city, Yonkers is in the same place as the five boroughs, man. You got people that are disenfranchised that need guidance. The young are lost out there. And all they need is just hope. Somebody just to reach down and pull them up, man. And you go out there, you support these brothers, man. For real.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Definitely go check out. So our YouTube channel is not really like too strong, but definitely some good content on there. You see some of our community events, see our recent gala. We had 2 galas,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, it was a sneaker gala. Styles P was our first guest speaker, and then the second year we had Rashad from Earn Your Leisure, and we had over 430 people present. Amazing, fly, like the content's on there, but really come learn. You can look us up on Instagram, Facebook, look us up on, like you said, your website, the website www.nowonfornet.org. The stories behind it, but the videos is on the YouTube to show you the work that we're doing, because we're trying to change, we're trying to shift the culture and change the narrative. I think that's one of our biggest things, man.
That's what we're trying to do.
And what, bro.
Yeah, and we could do that together, you know what I'm saying? So
Indeed, for sure.
this is why these conversations are so powerful, right? I get to meet you, get to meet me, I get to meet the brother. And whoever's watching and hearing, man, like tap in, man. Like we only stronger together, man. So the door's open.
That's a fact,
indeed,
bro.
Indeed.
Salute.
Yo, on that note, thank you for coming out this
Real,
evening.
bro.
Salute. Peace to you. Peace to everybody in the chat.
Yeah.
And we are out of here. Peace.
Yo, take care, y'all. Peace.